It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Tuesday. Gary, how's it going?
Doing great.
All
Just
right.
doing great. What a day it was yesterday.
Wow.
Daniel Perry found not guilty.
Yeah.
We will get to that coming up here in a little bit. Luigi Mangione is the suspect in the killing of Brian Thompson, the health insurance CEO.
Right.
We'll get to that coming up. The direction of where Congress is going to go when Trump gets into office. It's really interesting because one of the things they're dealing with right now is the fact that they've only got one vote lead in the House. Thank you, Matt Gaitz.
Yeah. Wow.
And by the way, where did all the loyalty to Matt Gaitz go? Remember that? Remember Matt Gaitz? He must be there, or people are going to be primaried if Matt Gaitz. And Matt Gaitz betrayed the entire Republican Party and Trump by just dropping out. There was no reason for him to drop out.
No.
He won an election.
Right. In landslide territory.
Right. And so he told the people of his district, I am going to run again.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, as soon as Trump nominated him, he quit. Well, he could go back. He didn't go back.
Right.
He betrayed his constituents. He betrayed the Republican Party. He betrayed Trump. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because we get into these cycles here where you get, I don't know whether they're Republicans or populist or whatever, that jump on something, Gates. And if Gates doesn't get it, the whole shebang comes down. Mm-hmm. We're going to tear it down if Gates. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Who? Where is he? Nobody's talking about him anymore? What happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't the quality individual you claimed he was because he betrayed Trump.
Look, it wasn't the first time he betrayed Trump.
No, it wasn't.
The whole thing with McCarthy. The day it went down, Trump posted on Truth Social as it was happening. This isn't the way to handle this.
So I find it fascinating. I just want to bring that up because we deal with that all the time.
Well, it's the branding. What I don't like is the branding of these individuals in Congress. You know, they're all, you know, it's politically, it's part of what you do, but it's gone to the insane level where set everything on fire but me. And then claim that you're more loyal than anybody.
Exactly.
To the cause.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point.
You know? And it's like, where's the loyalty? Because it was screaming. Well, I voted for Donald Trump. I mean, I know I don't live in the Matt Gaitz district, the district he used to represent.
Oh, and I wish I did. Because I used to.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, man.
4-1.
Oh, Navarre Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
What a great place.
Right. Beautiful sand, beautiful water, beautiful sun.
And we think of the quality individuals that have represented that district. Joe Scarborough.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Oh. Solid conservatives like Joe Scarborough. Yes, that Joe Scarborough, kids.
No, I really don't care. I mean, it's done and it's over and done. It's just I just wanted to make note of what we go through and for example when we had talked about Gates and said he's got a problem, and the problem is the ethics committee that what is said to be in it adds a bunch of new allegations,
right?
And those are going to be tough. And when we said that, of course, we were rhinos, which I find interesting. You got to come up with something new. Because as I explained again on Fridays many times before, I haven't been a registered Republican since probably 2006, 2007. I vote in the Republican primary here, but I don't have it. You're the same way. We're conservative libertarian, but if we were Republicans, we absolutely would be rhinos, because if you look at the mainstream of the Republican Party right now, we are to the right of the Republican Party. The Republican Party is going more liberal, more populist.
Yep.
So it's like, a buddy of mine heard, he goes, wow, that was great when you said, well, yeah, of course he heard me. Yeah, of course, if I was a Republican, of course I'm a rhino. He goes, and then I thought to myself, how the hell are you going to get out of that one, Gary? It's like easy. We're to the right of the Republican Party.
Right. Yeah. And I've had, you and I have both had issues with the Republican Party for a long, long time.
Yeah.
The problem isn't, or the solution, the remedy isn't throw all of them out. It is turnover. There should be new blood in the Republican Party, and we're seeing that now. We didn't see that Trump coming into his first term. We didn't see that. In fact, remember, that was the first drain the swamp. Don't keep Paul Ryan, that kind of thing. And look, I wasn't a fan of Paul Ryan. The thing is, you have to build a consensus, but you also have to find the right candidates. Byron Donalds, you look at all of the Republicans now that are in play. J.D. Vance, who's going to be the next vice president. All of these conservatives, Ramaswamy, that don't just have a voice. They're fearless. They don't flinch. We were saying that during the first Trump term. My concern was the party's going to it just seems like it just keeps getting older and older and older and older and older. The establishment clearly and obviously isn't the future of the party. There has to be new blood. But I don't know where you find those fighters. And they did. And they were on the stage at the convention and everything else. Matt Gaitz, you could consider him one of those up until the Kevin McCarthy thing. Because, again, I'm with Matt Gaitz and those Republicans absolutely on board for holding feet to the fire, saying we've got to get on top of our fiscal responsibility. And this is where you do it. You do it in the House. The remedy, though, isn't to set it on fire and walk away.
Right, and the other thing is, you and I both supported Gates in his attack on the weaponization of government on the left. I'm simply talking about the fact that you got a 1-vote lead. You could have 2.
Yeah,
and that could be very, very important. That 1 vote in the House of Representatives. Why did Matt Gaetz leave? Everybody in the Republican Party was defending him 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Nobody is defending him now.
No. I mean, it's crickets. Right. There's nobody talking about it.
And it's just the point of how quickly things change. Now, is it because, and I do believe it's because of what was in that ethics committee thing.
I think it is too.
Ethics committee report that was way beyond any type of sexual allegations, because there's no other reason that has been given as to why he just dropped out.
Right.
Because there should be no other reason he dropped out. He won the district. He won it in a landslide. Trump nominated him. Then, said, nope. Sorry, the votes aren't there. Mm-hmm. And so he's out. Well, why isn't he back in Congress again? If it was simply a vote thing based on the fact that, because you heard this, if it was just the fact that Congress doesn't like him, he has too many enemies, well, then he should be back in Congress again.
Right. Yeah.
And,
many
again,
of them have enemies, and the more conservative you are, the more enemies you're going to have, even within your own party. I don't mind, because that's the thing. You and I had to clarify along the way. I felt like I did that I'm not one of these guys that says, "Well, we got to quit with the infighting." No. I don't care. In fact, I am absolutely okay if you're not in. If you want to hold again the Republican Party, if you want to hold them accountable when it comes to spending and fiscal matters, and you want to move them more conservative, and the infighting is one thing. But trying to build the brand and make it about the brand being you and make it about you, and again, setting the entire place on fire and walking away isn't the remedy. You keep fighting. Either you're going to fight or you're not. And if you're not, if you're only going to set the place on fire, then really there's no place for you, because there is nothing after that. Then it's scorched earth, and there's nothing you can do. Now you've crippled your own party.
Well, Hegseth, as you see, is fighting everything, and Joni Ernst now says she supports him through the process.
Right.
I was reading Breitbart. It says she supports him. I go, well, it says she supports him through the process.
Right.
You know, it's like to stop.
She sounds more positive than she started,
but he's fighting it. And,
no, he's up there talking.
And so when it comes to allegations, I don't judge somebody just by the allegations, and I don't judge Gaitz by the allegations either. So why is he out?
Right.
Since he won his seat, if they're just allegations, and we are all under the opinion that allegations should not be the final judgment of you and your qualifications for any type of office, then why is he not in Congress?
Well,
why did he drop out after just winning an election? Those are questions that are important, because there was an absolute from so many surrogates of Trump. There were the absolutes that if Gaitz doesn't get it and you don't support Gaitz, just like you see for Hegseth now, well, then you need to be kicked out of the Republican Party forever.
Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden he's out and nothing.
Yeah.
Completely, nobody's defending him whatsoever. But if they're simply allegations, why is he out? And if he's simply saying I'm out, then he just betrayed Trump and the Republican Party and his constituents, because he ran for office. He took money. He raised money to do it. He took people's money to run for it. And now he's out, and you don't hear anything from him at all. Nothing. There's nothing. And so I just want to bring up and go back, because this is what happens in these times. You've got these surrogates, especially on social media, that become absolute. This must be. Oh, what? Who? I don't even know the man. What's going? Nothing. And you have to go back, as we always do. We always have to go back and look and go point by point by point by point on everything. And you look at it, you come to the conclusion, you say, well, if they're just allegations, and I don't judge anybody by allegations, why is Matt Gaitz out of Congress? Why do the Republicans only have one? The others were because of, nominations. All of them were because of nominations, but his is over. Why isn't he back in Congress? That's what he told the people of his district, American citizens, that he was going to represent them again for another couple of years. Why is he out?
I'm with you. Everything points to the House Ethics Committee report, and you look at that private whip count that was given to him. It was made available to Matt Gaitz, showed no path to confirmation. That sounds like lots of problems inside, not just that that they don't get along. It's just that those individuals, even over in the Senate, know what's in that report. They know what's going on with Matt Gaitz. They know the stories. That's what it reeks of to me. Somebody else explain it to me otherwise.
Yeah. Especially those that were
because if it's just
absolutists.
Well, the allegations were out there before he ran again. I mean, he's running every 2 years, but I mean, it's and he won with no issues whatsoever.
Yep.
So the allegations, all the public stuff that were, the allegations that were public, that was already there. That part,
the initial allegations,
all of that, none of that tainted him. I mean, I know the makeup of the district, but still, he won with no problem whatsoever. So that tells me that on the inside, everybody knew, even over in the Senate, what that report said. That's what it points to. And I think it's why we're not hearing anything now.
Yeah. But again, if you're not going to believe, if you don't judge somebody by just allegations, why isn't he in Congress?
Right.
And giving Trump 2 votes instead of 1, which could make a difference.
Right.
because that's what you do. That's what an honorable person does. An honorable person, when they make a promise to run for office, they serve in that office, unless, again, you become nominated and all that, and and you go through that particular process. But that would be a goal to help the American public. If his goal was to help the American public and his constituents,
serve in a greater role,
right, he would have stayed in.
Right.
All right, coming up on the show today, the Daniel Penny verdict, Perry. Penny verdict out there. What else we got? Oh yeah, the suspect in the murder of the health insurance executive. I love this one. Democrats fume as cavalier and selfish Biden cedes power to Trump. It's something you and I talked about yesterday. You see Trump out there; he's around the world. It's almost as if Trump is president now.
He's looked more presidential for quite some time, even before the election, but certainly since the election, it feels like more and more that he's currently the president. Biden just looks lost.
And
so out of place. I mean, seriously out of place. But of course it's going to be that way because, look, he's pushed aside by his own party. He feels out of place. He feels like he doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
It's
amazing, though, because the impression people have is that Trump's already president.
Yeah.
You see him with world leaders.
Yep.
He has done more that has been the imagery of a leader, of a tough leader, of a strong leader of the United States, and he's not even president yet over the last month than Biden has done in 4 years.
Yeah. And by the way, a vast difference during the transition of 2016 and the transition of 24. The global leaders have a much more respect for Donald Trump this time around. You can see it.
866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. You may not be able to predict blizzards and ice storms, but you can prepare your truck to handle them. Make sure your truck is prepared for any last-minute winter storms by keeping tabs on your tires before each trip. Proper tire traction is essential year-round, but especially during winter when the roads are slick and roadway behavior is unpredictable. Protect your tire investment with routine checks and pre-trip inspections all winter long. Check pressure levels, tread depth, and inspect for any visible damage or debris stuck in wheel components. Look for steam or melted snow coming off wheel hubs, as this could indicate your wheel bearings are overheating. If necessary, give your tires a warm wash before inspecting them, as snow can cover potential warning signs of damage.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Daniel Penny found not guilty yesterday. Here is BLM. Bring lots of money out there. Protest. Somebody brought up, they're wearing New York Yankees hats. It's probably the Yankees are going, you can't wear our hat, when you're promoting this. But this is one of the representatives from Bring Lots of Money, used to be known as Black Lives Matter.
We need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
There you go. Advocating violence. I guess you had a couple of hundred that were protesting there. First thing when I saw that, I went, nobody's going to respond the same way to this one.
No.
I just went, this is the hill that you wish to die on, or bring back, bring lots of money back.
Yeah. No, this is a clear case, and you don't have anybody on your side if you're protesting.
Not even the black witnesses and the non-white people who helped him take down the suspect.
walking in a winter wonderland. Gary and Eric on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. I'm just looking at this. I didn't know that there was a game tonight. I didn't know that the Cowboys were playing. They lost, by the way.
Well, apparently neither did the Cowboys.
But you know how I know?
Mm.
As soon as I get on the tollway and everything's like, there's nobody. When you take the tollway here in Dallas, there's just no traffic. When I take it at night, there's just nothing. I mean, there'll be a car a half mile ahead of me and a car maybe a half mile behind me,
right.
And it's the easiest drive you could possibly imagine. The same on the drive home. As soon as I get past going north on the tollway past I-30, you know when there's an event going on.
Well,
at AT&T Stadium, because it's like, what's going on here? And so when I'm driving, like, oh, Cowboys game tonight. That's right, Monday night game.
Yeah.
And I just saw this one here. I'm just going through the New York Post. Jason Kelsey calls Dallas the butthole and armpit of America on live Monday Night Football broadcast.
Wow.
The former Eagles center found himself trying to walk back an attempt at humor during Monday Night Countdown when he jokingly called Arlington and Dallas, Texas, the butthole and armpit of America. Kelsey was trying to play off a joke that Mina Kimes, I have no idea who that even is, had made moments before as a Monday Night Countdown crew interacted with the animated versions of a bunch of the sports broadcasters who were calling the special Simpsons-themed all-cast of the Monday night game. Are you kidding me? Good God. The all-cast version of the Bengals-Cowboys clash was being played live from Springfield, the fictional town the Simpsons characters live in. During the interaction between the two broadcasts, Kimes called Springfield the armpit of America's butt crack, which is a direct reference to the show and one of the nicknames of the city. As Scott Van Pelt brought Monday Night Countdown back to AT&T Stadium, he identified that they were back in the state of Texas, Arlington, Dallas. By the way, you don't do yourself any good to the people of Arlington by saying, we're in Arlington, Dallas.
Yes. Homer Simpson here. I just want to say that comment was unwarranted. It's not Arlington, Dallas. It's Arlington and Dallas. But when you're at the game in that stadium, you're in Arlington.
That's when Kelsey jumped in and said, also the butthole and armpit of America. The panel quickly reacted with shock at Kelsey's comments. As the former Eagle clarified that he was just joking.
Right. It was a Simpsons reference. Calm down.
I can still remember. This goes back to the early 90s when Buffalo would play Dallas all the time. And Buffalo would win in the regular season and lose the Super Bowl.
Wow.
But they would beat Dallas in the regular season. They did both years they played,
right.
I believe, in the Super Bowl. And all of a sudden, and you're going to like this, all of a sudden I see this story one day, from this sports reporter that, just, really insulted Buffalo. I forgot exactly what he said.
Huh.
And it said, Randy Galloway. And he insulted. And I was working in Buffalo as a talk show host. I can't remember what I said. A couple of years later, I'm working with Randy Galloway. He's on the air after me. We would interact every single day.
Yeah, the great Randy Galloway.
Yes.
And if you were never insulted by Randy Galloway,
yes,
that means he missed you.
Yes. He didn't know you existed.
Trust me, it wasn't. It wasn't deliberate that you didn't get the insult. He would work hard at it. Play Christmas music, Bob. That's an old inside joke.
Yes.
It is I don't know. The whole thing. It just seems. First of all, look. Let's keep this streak going with the Cowboys. Why win at home? Why ever? Why should you ever win a home game? It's.
I'm reading the comments here.
Yeah.
It's like, and he lives in Philadelphia.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh! People, calm down.
Yeah, calm down.
Funny thing is, because you hear this stuff being thrown about, and I've lived in so many places in the United States, and every place has its good points, and every place has its bad points.
Right.
But
right.
every place where I've lived, I remember when I lived in Rockford, Illinois, and I worked at our great affiliate WROK there, and it was Money Magazine. Always had it at like the bottom of the list, as one of the worst places. Not it was like the best places to live in Rockford would be like last or second last of 200 different places.
Wow.
And I remember saying it. I just shook my head, going, and I wasn't born and raised there. I was born and raised in Western New York, and I just went, these lists are stupid, because I loved, and everybody knows it. Anybody who remembers me when I actually worked in Rockford knows how much I loved living in Rockford, Illinois. It was a great little city where I lived. You could get everywhere, very, very quick. And the suburbs had so much forest land. It was great.
We had
just minutes from it. So.
Shell Hotel Super Rigs truck show just outside of Rockford a few years ago. I forget when that was, but it was great. I had a great stay there. So. Yeah,
and I'll never forget the little town, because I lived right near the little town of Cherry Valley. It was really just a great little place. Great little place to to be around. And like I've said, even I lived in Portland, Oregon. I actually lived in Portland, but I lived over the hill. I lived closer to Beaverton. I loved living in Portland.
Yeah,
it's terrible what happened, but again, what happened there is still a minority of the people that live there. A lot of good people there. A lot of good, believe it or not. In Oregon, there's a lot of good conservatives in in Oregon. I won't say Portland.
Well,
but so every place I've lived, and so I laugh at this stuff when people say stuff, and then everybody gets I can't believe this. Your city stinks. No, yours stinks. Yours stinks. Yours stinks. Yours stinks. Yours stinks more than our city stinks. Shut up.
Yeah. Well, it's always people that don't live there, or moved away years ago or whatever. It's, for me, your life is what you make of it. I mean, it's going to be, whatever town you live in. You could live in I don't know what you would call the greatest town. I don't even know what you would rate number one. Well, I mean, it's personal preference. It's like, okay, are you retired? Or do you work in a certain industry and, you're making a lot of money? The Silicon Valley used to be hopping back in the day. I don't know what it's like to live in that area. But if you were in the tech field and you were doing well and living there, you loved it. Well, it was because of everything else that was going on in your environment. You just make that happen. Now, having said that, I'm not living anywhere else but Texas. Maybe there's an outside chance of some land in Oklahoma, but it won't be full time. My wife is from Oklahoma, so I'll consider that. We call that North Texas. We live in North Texas. Oklahoma is North Texas.
Well, I remember when it's funny because we had talked about Joe Scarborough and Matt Gaetz's district.
Yeah.
In Florida, which is Navarre, which includes, it's basically Niceville, Fort Walton Beach, Navarre. I mean, that particular area. And Niceville is just sort of northeast of Fort Walton Beach,
west of Hateville, Meanville, Grinchville.
Well, no, it's far east of Hateville, which would be L.A. No, I'm just kidding. And so I was living there, and I moved to Marshall, Texas.
Yeah.
I had a house on the beach, And I had the greatest time in Marshall, Texas. I mean, small town, 20,000 people.
I love East Texas.
And just absolutely fell in love with East Texas. In fact, I think I don't know of a city that I've lived in that I didn't love.
Right.
And that's the one great thing that now I try to avoid O'Hare.
Well,
but whenever I land in Chicago, I feel like I'm at home. If
Well,
I'm in Rockford, Illinois, I feel like home. If I'm in Portland, I feel like home. If I'm in Florida, I feel like home.
I've only been there a few times, but I love Los Angeles. Now, I would hate the traffic as they describe it. I wouldn't want to be in that. But I was in traffic the other day here. It was crazy. It was stupid. But I love, I just love L.A. Growing up watching so many L.A. cop shows, and the palm trees and everything else and the beach. And I have a friend who's from Oklahoma. And we used to work in radio together, and she's lived out there for decades now. She moved out there and loves it. It's I don't think I could live in California based on the cost of living. I just don't think I could. I don't think I'd be able to justify living there.
Well, and I've talked about this before in New York. I don't know if I'd want to be living in New York.
Yeah, right.
As a radio talk show host with Letitia James as Attorney General.
Oh, yeah.
And the precedent that she started on fraud. Because if you're in the media, they can go after anyone now.
Right.
Based on how they went after Trump.
Right.
Until that thing is completely and totally overturned and the courts clamp down on it, I wouldn't want to live in New York because of that reason. But but Western New York itself with the people there and you love living there. It's a great place.
Yeah.
It's a great place to be around. And so, but everywhere I've lived, you meet different people and there are great points about it. And there's different points. And, in Western New York, for example, people talk about it. If people talk about the Bills Mafia that's all over the country, there's a reason for it.
Yeah. I have two friends that are diehard, lifelong Bills fans from Buffalo, and you guys just met. You and another radio friend of mine that I've known for decades, Tommy.
Yeah.
And
Tommy, and you can say his name.
Yeah, Tommy Daniels.
Tommy, I met him. I met him at the Buffalo Brothers about. It would have been preseason.
Yeah.
And it was my buddy Mike, who runs the Buffalo Bills backers here, who said, "Do you know Tommy Daniels?" I went, "No." And he goes, he runs the got mind blank here, the Allen
Americans.
Americans. He's a play-by-play guy and like the head honcho for that minor league team and just a great guy. And I said, "Wait a minute, he's really good friends with my co-host. Let's come on over and meet him." It was like we knew each other our entire lives.
Yeah, Tommy's great.
I mean, he's really, really a great guy. And we'll still, we exchanged numbers. Yeah. And one day, all of a sudden, I see a text from Tommy. I go, "Who's Tommy?" I forgot. It's like, I don't know. Tommy. And he's.
But that's the Bills Mafia thing. I mean, you guys instantly had the connection, but we also had the connection from.
Right, from radio.
Yeah, from radio.
So. Well, he had sent me. He was up watching the Buffalo Sabres, and he was like watching a practice going on in September.
Right.
He goes, "Hey, Buffalo for a couple of days, whatever." And it's like, and then he asks. Then he'll occasionally write to me, "You going to be up there to?" And I haven't been. I've not seen a Bills game live. I saw 6 minutes of the game 2 weeks ago when it was the 7:20 game, but I've not seen a game live. I can't do it. I've got to sleep on Sundays, so
right.
I don't get a chance to do it. But Tommy's a great guy. I mean, just lives and dies sports.
Oh yeah, that is his life.
He just stats and everything. He's just gosh. Like he reminds me a little bit of Chuck Cooperstein.
I was going to say Chuck Cooperstein kind of guy,
who is the play-by-play guy for the Dallas Mavericks. Who
walking encyclopedia.
And just the greatest guy.
Really
just the greatest guy. Really
great
is.
guy. Genuine guy.
I love it when people start, because there's going to be a big thing tomorrow in Dallas. He said.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's going to be the
Dallas
thing.
sucks.
Yeah. Right.
No, Philadelphia
then morning
sucks.
shows will. Hey, so is it the armpit of America? Come on, guys.
Wait a minute. When did you dethrone Cleveland?
Exactly.
Okay. I got a ton of Browns fans that are friends. 866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And we got a ton of stuff to talk about. The Daniel Penny acquittal. I keep wanting to say Perry. We'll get to that coming up here. And Democrats fume as cavalier and selfish Biden cedes power to Trump before Trump's president.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. You ready?
What?
All right. Let's just
What do we got?
let's go to CNN and Scott Jennings.
All right.
This is all on the Daniel Penny verdict that came out yesterday of not guilty. Let's see what Scott Jennings had to go through yesterday. Okay, here we go.
Right.
That Daniel Penny should get the Congressional Gold Medal to recognize his heroism. I'm not asking you about anyone else.
I think he ought to get medal. I think they ought to build a statue to this guy in New York City.
I think that race, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the dreaded R word. Race plays a role in this, right? And so we see it. Yes, absolutely, because statistics say that.
Wasn't there a similar case in New York City
at the same time this was going on? That when people kill people who are white, they tend to get harsher sentences, especially if they're people of color.
What about the Jordan Williams case?
That is what happens in our criminal justice system.
First of all,
no, I'm not going to stop because race absolutely plays a role in this.
I said, what about the Jordan Williams case here in New York? Same situation, African-American, gets on a subway, ends up killing a guy, grand jury tosses it out at the exact same time as the Penny case.
Okay, that's one. All right, let's continue here and get more of the whole Daniel Penny thing. Here we go.
Yeah, let me just help you understand. If you're on the American left tonight, here's my chart. The good guys today, Daniel Penny. The bad guys, Luigi Mangione. It seems to me.
How do you?
Everybody
what's
on the
the
left.
chart for victims?
I'm just telling you what I see out in the world.
I know. I just want you to finish the
today,
chart. Which victim is good and which victim is bad.
What I'm telling you is
that's not on the second page.
People on the left can't
Scott,
seem to tell the difference between the good guys and the bad
people on the left.
And finally, this one here. Let's compare Daniel Penny to Luigi Mangione. And say which vigilante action is okay. This is insane on the left. This was also on CNN.
Later in the night, we're also going to talk about Penny and the verdict there. There you also have a victim who somebody determined did not deserve to continue living, right?
No.
Yeah, tell me which vigilante action is okay.
That's not what happened.
Wow.
Because she's saying there was clear intent by Penny to take his life. That's not what happened.
Well, not only that, she's calling both vigilantes that the murder of the
CEO.
health insurance CEO was simply vigilante justice.
Which means righting a wrong.
Right. And, you've got look, this primarily falls on the left, where you see this joy, especially in the media. But I'll say this, the populist portion of what the Republican Party is slowly becoming, you see it, I know, because I dealt with it. Two people that I know that are Trump supporters that went, first when they heard, wow, it's a health insurance industry. So the populism stink, the rot that exists in people that support Trump as populists.
Yeah, because they're not conservative.
Right, they're not conservative. This also exists there. How do I know? Because I personally have dealt with it from two people who I've had discussions with who both voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And if, when you look at it, if Brian Thompson deserved to die, deserved to be murdered,
right?
Does Anthony Fauci? Does Chris Cuomo? Not Chris Cuomo. Does Andrew Cuomo?
Right, the former governor of
Right.
New York.
Right.
Who was governor during COVID.
During COVID, and I'm talking about the senior, the whole senior citizen debacle.
By the way, the clear answer is no on all of these, but making the point where the left is, because they are essentially justifying this reason. Vigilante?
Does
Mangione is a vigilante? Well, if he's the shooter, he's the vigilante?
I want to add a couple more names. Does Mayorkas deserve to be murdered? Does Biden deserve to be murdered for opening up the border, which caused lives to be lost? Of course, the answer is no. This is Secret Service going to be at my door.
Well, but
we're playing the absurd viewpoint based on the justification that I dealt with from two people that I know that are Trump supporters that said the same thing. Now, in the media,
all over social media,
right? But in the media itself, it's almost exclusively the far left.
Yes,
that is justifying this. All of it is reprehensible, but that's where we are as a nation, and that's the demonization of capitalism. That if you're a capitalist, and from what we know with Mangione, he had his entire thing. Capitalism is evil.
Right.
That the whole thing, not just health insurance, capitalism is evil.
Right. Well, I mean, the connection to and it seemed admiration or the analyzation as he was analyzing Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah.
The Unabomber.
Right. Exactly.
And implying in one writing, it's saying that sometimes in order to survive, violence is necessary.
Well, by the way, we can go right to Trump and the justification of the attempted assassination of Trump. That, Trump is so bad and he's Hitler, so Hitler deserves to be murdered, so Trump deserves to be murdered.
If on that day.
By the way, he doesn't. I want to make this clear that people don't catch part of it, and the Secret Service is at my door.
Well, it's the mindset of this, and you heard the jokes. And I have to question if they were jokes, that the shooter on that day would have been a hero, if not for a quarter of an inch of a head movement. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But this is where I've been saying this for ages. Because the left doesn't respect life. What happened with Penny was not intentional. I can't imagine what he lives with and knowing that he took someone else's life, but there is zero evidence that that's what he set out to do.
But I don't know who the woman is on CNN.
With Mangione,
that came out and tried to make a moral equivalency of vigilantism of Daniel Penny and Luigi Mangione.
Right.
I don't know who this person is. But there's a whole panel there.
But Mangione is someone who, if he is the shooter, if it turns out that he is indeed the shooter and killed Brian Thompson, that was whoever the shooter was intended to kill him.
Yeah.
That was not Penny's intent. And there's zero evidence that it was. But this gets back to the left and how they don't respect life. It all starts with honoring life. It all starts with whether or not you value life. Penny on that day was valuing the lives of others that he thought were in danger. And with Mangione or whoever was guilty of, it's found that is guilty of killing Brian Thompson, they wanted to take the life because they disagreed with the company policy. They disagreed with, we don't know that part yet.
Right.
But they wanted to take that life. Daniel Penny was not looking to take somebody's life. He was looking to save other people. This is where the left always goes to on guns. Well, guns are designed to do only one thing. Well, actually, killers are designed to do one thing. I mean, yes, technically that is true, but you're looking to protect yourself. You're looking to protect others if you are a lawful gun owner. And when you honor life and you value life from the beginning, then it carries through, and it doesn't matter who the other person is. It doesn't matter whose life it is. And this is something that the left just doesn't care about, and it's very tragic and morbid to watch play out here on social media with this whole thing surrounding the killing of Brian Thompson. I just don't know where to even start to compartmentalize this kind of morbid behavior over and over again, over and over again. It's like, and I'm waiting for it. I was waiting when they made the arrest yesterday. I was waiting for the, this guy gets Hero of the Year award or something.
Well,
because we were almost to that point in the tone of the conversation on the left.
Well, I was there was some cursing in it, so I can't play it. But on Jon Stewart, when he said, "Yeah, they got him," you could hear boos.
Yeah.
In his
Right.
audience.
Right.
And we talked about this yesterday. I was reading an article the other day about somebody who can't afford Obamacare because Obamacare just skyrocketed in price.
Right.
And the price, so he doesn't have insurance.
Right.
So are the architects of Obamacare, should they be murdered because it doesn't cover everybody?
Is that the solution? Murder now?
Right. We know national health care in Canada. We know people have been denied service.
Mm-hmm.
We know people. So anybody who's in a nationalized healthcare system, if the system, what you're saying is if the system isn't perfect, that person deserves to be murdered.
Right.
That's the type of insanity that the left and now the populists. And that's the whole thing, because the populists, now you even see in the Republican Party, you see, corporations are evil. We need to control the corporations.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Credit card companies charge too much.
Right.
Airlines are out of line and need to be controlled more by the federal government. Just in the past,
that's a very liberal Democrat thing. And we talked about that, the lawmakers pushing to do that.
Yep.
And call themselves conservative.
Yep. That everything is bad. If everything is not, if companies, and we're getting to the point, if companies are not charities, then what? Companies are not charities, then the people that run them, that's justification for murder?
Right. Yeah, and if they don't benefit everybody completely to the satisfaction of everybody.
Right. Then they deserve to be murdered.
It's just so morbid to me. It really is.
Because if you look at it overall, when you see people, the polling has showed, the vast majority of people are pleased with the health care that they get.
Yeah.
Even with the health insurance that they have now.
It's enormously expensive.
Yeah, it is.
And there's, we've talked about solutions. You and I have talked about it over the years, what it gets down to, and some of the solutions. None of them include violence.
Well, any of the states, Colorado, Vermont, and California that tried nationalized health care,
right,
and it was defeated.
Remember in California, when the one state lawmaker insisted that they put a funding mechanism in the bill, And he got threats.
Yeah, he got death threats because he said we cannot pass this health care bill because we need a funding mechanism. You just can't put this in. We can't borrow money like the federal government does. He got threats. He got, physical threats because the health care law didn't go to the legislature because of it, because there was no funding mechanism.
Right.
So we can take it private. We can take it public. And the narrative seems to be, if it's not perfect and everybody isn't served as a hypothetical charity would, and even hypothetical charities can't do it, but a hypothetical nirvana perfect charity handles it, well, then that's justifiable.
Right.
That's justifiable to murder that person.
Right.
And I'm telling you, the couple of people that I know that voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to understand the health care. It should be different. It should be different.
You and I heard it. It wasn't too long ago. Was it before 2016 or after the election? I can't remember, but it was in that time frame around the 2016 election, because we were talking about, well, look, Trump has talked recently, not too long ago, about we have to have the discussion. We have to go back and take another look at single-payer system. In fact, it was on Letterman, I think in 2015, when he was on Letterman, if I recall, early 2015. We have to take another look at single-payer system. I don't know if he was just, by the way, lobbing that out there in a Letterman late-night talk show kind of thing and wasn't serious about it in that moment. But he has talked about that single-payer system, in the past. And we started hearing from people who were supporters of Trump saying, yeah, well, maybe that's the way we need to go. And with RFK Jr. now coming in, and if he gets confirmation, and with everything that Trump has said here recently, there's more reason to believe that the government's going to be more involved in health care, which means the Department of Government Efficiency is going to have a longer list, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's a discussion for another day. We're actually not talking healthcare. We're talking about the people justifying
my point was
that
the populace, that you may think that they're only, that this only happens on the left. We've heard from these populists that have voted for Republicans, again, to the point of lawmakers recently going after credit card companies saying, well, we need to cap the interest rates on credit cards. Josh Hawley.
Yeah, he's playing the game that companies are evil. He did the same thing with airlines the other day.
And he's not one of those crazy Democrats. In fact, he's not a Democrat at all.
Like the woman he ran against.
Exactly, Claire McCaskill. Yeah.
Well, you've got people that are just there to weigh bags and check the size of bags. Well, yeah, because that's what the business that airlines are in.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
The IFTA tax program redistributes tax revenue to states based on your actual miles run. Thus, the truly cheapest fuel can only be found if you subtract federal and state taxes and state surcharges from the pump price to compare. The strategy means that you buy without regard for whether you are paying more at the pump in taxes. IFTA also considers state surcharges, which complicates the fuel buying strategy. Indiana, Kentucky, and Virginia have per-gallon surcharges. Connecticut, Kentucky, New Mexico, New York, and Oregon have per-mile surcharges. While some owner-operators buy only enough fuel to get through surcharge states, this practice can backfire, depending on the actual cost of the fuel in each state. When comparing fuel prices, always remember, pump pride minus taxes equals the real fuel cost. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, one of the interesting things, I mean, it's just totally bizarre, was Piers Morgan had Taylor Lorenz on, the former, was a Washington Post reporter, who said she felt joy. And he said, my God, what the hell's wrong with you? And she said, well, these health insurance people are murdering people. They're not murdering anybody.
No.
But that's what justifies, in her mind, the shooting. Because what she's saying is, it's the same thing with Trump.
Yeah.
The whole thing with Trump. Well, it's justified with Trump because he's Hitler. And Hitler killed 6 million people, so
anybody
Hitler.
you don't like, anybody you disagree with, it's justifiable then.
It's justifiable, and because somehow they'll come up with, you're murdering someone.
Wow.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose.
And thank you.
All right, so I want to play the full audio cut here from CNN, because it just got to be completely bizarre. And I don't know who the host is of this particular panel here at the moment, but she's the one leading the discussion, trying to make a moral equivalency between the Daniel Penny situation and the murder of the healthcare insurance CEO. Listen to this now. And the fact that the other host has to, the other panelist has to explain it to her, the difference. Here we go.
Later in the night, we're also going to talk about Penny and the verdict there. There you also have a victim who somebody determined did not deserve to continue living, right?
No.
Yeah, tell me
That's
which vigilante action is okay.
Now, listen to that. Tell me which, in her mind, there's no difference. Now let's hear his explanation.
One is being proactive, right? So this kid who executed a guy walking away from him, shot him in the back, for no reason whatsoever. Daniel Penny is a hero. You can say anything you want. Talk to people who ride the subway every day, because I do all the time.
So let me
I can't find anyone who rides the subway who's unhappy about this verdict.
Well,
unbelievable. Understand how sick these people are.
Yeah, it's really, it's demented.
Yep.
It really is morbid, this whole thing, this whole conversation. Because what's happening here, it's not happening for the first time, but what we're seeing is, what we're revealing here is the mindset that people are okay with the violence, that they're okay.
Yep.
I remember when Scalia died. He died here in Texas. He was on a retreat and on vacation here in Texas. And a liberal that I know, I'm acquainted with, we're connected on Facebook, or used to be when I was on Facebook, posted something to the effect of, well, if one of them was going to die, then I guess this was the better of, any of them, basically, on the Supreme Court. I thought to myself, because I don't expect everyone to grieve every death, but it's morbid that they are all but celebrating the death. In fact, might be celebrating it based on what they're willing to post on social media. If you're willing to put that on social, think about that. Writing something on social media like that. You want those ideas out there. You want people to know how you feel. You're going out of your way to write this stuff, which in and of itself is a celebration of someone's death. I don't get that.
Well, to try to make a moral equivalency between capital murder, because in the case of the insurance CEO being murdered, that was absolutely premeditated, as we know. It wasn't second degree. It wasn't second degree manslaughter, first degree manslaughter, negligent homicide. It was none of that. It was absolutely premeditated murder that our society views as the worst kind of murder, because we actually classify killing of people in the legal system.
Right.
The other one was self-defense from a bunch of people that were scared to death from somebody who had a long criminal record, as we know, that he had, we know the 67-year-old woman. But again, at that point, nobody knew it at the subway. They were just scared like hell that this guy was going to hurt them severely. And it was Daniel Penny trying to contain this person until police came.
Right. There is
zero
evidence that there was intent to kill him.
Zero evidence, because there was no intent.
No.
There was no intent at all. He was just taking a ride. And you hear, you and I, we can't play the audio because there's too much cursing in it. But some of the witnesses there, one woman, one young woman, one black man, completely and totally justifiable from their opinion as to what he did at that point. And that was, I believe that was the night it happened. That was TV camera crews talking to them. And the same thing happened in the court. And to try to make a moral equivalency is so freaking evil. There's nothing. There's no other word except evil.
Right.
One person trying to contain a situation of somebody who is a criminal with a long record, as we know.
And in that moment, it was a clear threat to multiple people.
Right. From not just from his point of view, but from the witnesses' point of view that were there, that were being threatened, that weren't all white.
Right.
And so BLM, bring lots of money. What are they trying to buy? Is that why they're back again? They're trying to. You're going to die on this hill. That's you're trying to what? You need to build another. You need to get another house. What is it? What's going on with bring lots of money? But it's just you shake your head in absolute disgust. And this was only brought because Bragg. By the way, did you see Bragg? Is the DA that will prosecute Mangione?
Yeah. Yeah. Like to see that process. Yep. And we will.
And this thing universally has been condemned by legal experts. Bragg bringing, this and and attempting, as we saw, I think it was reading National Review that said, the only thing, if you looked at it from the outside and didn't know anything, except for the fact that, this guy came on and you didn't know the intent, or you didn't talk to any of the witnesses. And as we had said, the only thing you'd even consider as a DA would be negligent homicide.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
The only thing you would even think of.
Right.
Because you can't make the case for manslaughter. You can't make the case for murder. You couldn't make it. And that was before you knew all the facts. But after you know the facts and talk to the witnesses, there's no way. There's no way you can make that point. But understand how evil these people are. My God.
Well, it's and the fact that it's not like one person. It's widespread on social media and in the media. This kind of approach here. I don't. It's telling. Again, it's the mindset was already there. They're now promoting it loudly because they look at the shooter, the killer of Brian Thompson, as a vigilante. We saw this almost immediately. at first it was individuals that were commenting on it and breaking it down. Then the media picked up that tone and carried it. Well, what's wrong with the healthcare industry that needs to be fixed? And blah, 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 blah. And you're going to get into the creating a victim in the killer. That's exactly where they're going. This is exactly what they're building here. A victim. A murderer is the victim.
Yep.
It's unreal.
Yeah, you think about it, you look at it and you say, if you want to define what evil is, that's evil.
Yeah. Right. Well, because once that has been cleared and that becomes the norm and acceptable by more and more people, you tell me what isn't. Because you can make the case that, well, anybody that I disagree with, this person has a certain level of influence and I disagree with them, so that's an acceptable solution. I'm just a vigilante. I'm just bringing about a different kind of justice. This is the thought process behind all of this.
Well,
and it's morbid.
Well, and think about it like Taylor Lorenz on the reporter on with Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
Well, this murdering has to stop from these health insurance CEOs.
Yeah.
And then we said, well, then fine. There are people that have been denied and can't afford Obamacare, so they aren't covered.
Right.
Are the architects of Obamacare guilty of murder?
Right.
We talked about Mayorkas at the border, Biden at the border. Is Biden guilty of murder? And that's why I mentioned Andrew Cuomo with what he did with the elderly people during COVID.
Right.
Is that murder? And then can you justify anything against them? No, of course not. It's not how we work in this system. But it's almost to the point of people saying, if I don't like the way you do something, then it justifies your murder.
Yeah.
What a bunch of sick SOBs.
And more and more, again, that becomes the popular chant.
Well, when you think about it, when for years you can call the opposition Hitler, which implies that they've murdered and have committed genocide, because that's the whole thing of Trump, calling Trump, and it didn't start with Trump. You can go back to Republicans. Somebody sent me something. I forgot who the president was way back, not 100 years ago, but somebody called somebody else 60 years ago a Hitler or whatever, or a fascist. But when you use that language and then people tend to hate you, that's what you're implying. You're defining that person as somebody who has murdered someone. They're not saying he's like Hitler. They're saying he's Hitler.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Trump is Hitler. Bush is Hitler.
Bill Maher said it and made the case.
Yeah.
This guy really is Hitler, which means that there's a threat that he would kill millions of people.
Right. But if you're
that's radical, that's as radical as it gets when you're trying to build fear. If you've got that kind of influence that Bill Maher has, he's got a weekly show on HBO, now has the podcast. And he said it then, and I've never heard him go back on that statement and say he was wrong and wrong for saying it.
Right. Because Trump is Hitler. You're implying that he's murdering people.
Right.
Not just that he will, but he has.
Right.
Because you're not saying he has a potential to become Hitler. You're saying he's Hitler. And so if you can basically put the murder label on somebody who has never committed murder, well, then that's what you have right now. I don't like this. I don't like the way this business works. They're murdering people because of it.
Yeah. So you could get there in any any direction you want to go in. That this person's, look, the number one role of the federal government is to protect the American people. It's national defense, which includes securing the border. None of us on the right, as far as I know, are accusing Mayorkas or Biden of murder. Are they responsible indirectly for deaths of American citizens? Yeah. Absolutely.
But it doesn't reach the charge of murder
It does not.
legally,
It
so
doesn't.
you don't use that term.
There's a remedy, and it happened on November 5th.
Right. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the top of the hour, we will get to Bragg and his prosecution. They're here from Jonathan Turley, who had a couple of things to say on it. Mm-hmm. And this really, it's interesting because we had said it yesterday. We had talked about the Trump and the interview that he did on Meet the Press. And like I said, we didn't think it was going to matter that much, and it didn't end up mattering that much. Mm-hmm. But Trump, you and I said it yesterday, I said, wow, he's really coming across as a leader. He's now, when he's being interviewed, there's a different type of confidence in how he debates them. And I said, and then everything else that we've seen over the last week, he's really a leader. And Biden, nobody's paying attention to him. And all of a sudden, I hadn't seen any article on it. All of a sudden, it blew up yesterday.
It's like Mar-a-Lago is the White House until January 20th, it seems like. Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I think I mentioned this to you off the air. I saw this earlier because we had talked about on Piers Morgan, former Washington Post reporter Taylor Lorenz, who was saying that that she felt joy because now we can have a discussion on healthcare insurance CEOs murdering people.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. Since they murder people, it justifies you can be happy when they're murdered because they're murdering.
Yeah.
Which is just the most bizarre thing ever. But she was working for Vox Media. Vox has now said she no longer works for them after her comments. And that's the thing. We said this a long time ago. We have a very, very strong, just to be clear here, a very, very strong anti-murder narrative on this show. We are against murder.
Right. There are a number of things on this show that we stand for. Number one, safety third. Number two,
yes,
we are against murder.
Yes.
You would think that would be number one, but just hear us out.
Well, safety is third, so can't murder be number one?
I guess. Safety is actually fourth.
Safety. I can't remember why we came out one time. It's like, look, all right, we need to make this clear. We're anti-murder. I can't remember why we did that. It goes back years ago.
It was a story, related to a story that we were doing, an issue that we were tackling, and time and time again, it seems like we have to. It's now I almost feel like a radical after the recent chatter on social media
Really?
over all of this is that, I mean, wait a minute, you're against murder?
Have you really thought about that position, Eric?
Exactly.
Gary, have you really thought about your position being anti-murder?
Well, I mean, we get to this ridiculous conversation because of the insane and morbid approach by the people having this conversation online surrounding the murder of Brian Thompson. My God. I don't know what I don't know what it is. I don't know, except for it always goes back for me to the fact that if you think that way, you simply don't value life at all. You don't value any life. You don't put value in life. I've seen comments like, oh, there's a guy who's making, whatever he was making, 10, 20 million a year, blah, 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 blah. Brian Thompson had 2 sons and a wife. Brian Thompson worked his way up through that company for 20 years. They called him BT around the office. Sound like a CEO to you? Sounds like a regular guy. I didn't know Brian Thompson, but by the descriptions of the people who knew him and loved him dearly, he seemed like a very likable guy. And at the end of it all, regardless of, because I can mourn the death of the man on that subway in the Daniel Penny situation, and also believe that Daniel Penny, in acting to protect people, did it for the right reason. It's tragic that the person died. Daniel Penny had no intent. There's zero evidence of intent to kill the man. But he saw a danger to himself and others and took action. How many videos do we see of things happening, and it's usually some camera that's on, and then there's someone beating on somebody else, and then the comments, on the post will be, why didn't somebody do anything? Daniel Penny did. Now, again, it's tragic. The loss of life is tragic, and I mourn that too. But Daniel Penny didn't set out to kill anyone on that day. And the killer of Brian Thompson did, and worked to make sure he was going to do that, not just on that day, but in the days leading up to it. It's becoming more and more evident that that was the case.
I really wonder what happened in the jury room, because the first question I think most of us had is, I figured that it would be the same thing would happen. The jury wouldn't be able to come to a verdict.
Mm-hmm. You said that yesterday.
Yeah, I said I don't. They probably won't be able to come to a verdict, and when you look at it, that means that whether there was one, I don't know. We don't know what the breakdown was. Mm-hmm. Was it 11-1, where one person was saying that there should be, the second-degree manslaughter charge. Mm-hmm. He should be convicted of that. Well, if you then go to the set, which they weren't supposed to do, I mean, they're not supposed to do what they did in the court, and they figured that would have been one of the appeals if he would have been found guilty of negligent homicide. But that means that whoever voted to convict him of second-degree manslaughter said no to negligent homicide. Mm-hmm. Why?
Right.
Did they go back in that room and say, "Oh my God, I mean this is a setup of we were wrong"? Because that was one of the things I think
that's a great point.
Jonathan Turley was talking about.
Yeah.
They were talking about, why would that happen? Why would you go in if you had some that thought he should be convicted of this? I mean, that was Bragg's plan, as Turley has said. Bragg's plan was, we probably can't get him on this, but the whole thing is, let's get a compromise verdict. Let's get him guilty of something.
Right.
And so let's shoot for the higher one. But the rules were that the judge stated there, because apparently this is New York law, that if, the only way that you can go to negligent homicide is if the verdict is not guilty on the second-degree manslaughter.
But a verdict has to happen first.
But a verdict has to happen. And when it didn't happen, the judge says, well, you can go here. And they went, well, that's going to be appealed. That's not going to stick. But the whole point is, all right, we got some people, I don't know how many, on the jury that said it is second-degree manslaughter, and then nobody. It's unanimous. And very quickly, I mean, this was just a couple of hours, they were deliberating.
Yeah.
It was extremely quick. They went in, it was like, nope. What happened inside the jury room? What happened?
Because I didn't see anything where the judge addressed the jury that might have changed something. Maybe it happened, and I don't know. But something had to have happened.
Yeah.
And someone or a number of jurors were on board for the second-degree murder charge.
Yeah. At least one was.
Right. The manslaughter.
Yeah, the manslaughter, right.
But
and so...
And they went from that to all of a sudden acquitted.
Right.
So what changed?
And I don't think you're going to hear from any of the jurors because they believe they've been threatened by BLM. Bring lots of money. That's right. Bring lots of money.
Yeah.
Is back in it again. And when I saw that, I just went, wow. When I saw that the other day that they were out there, I went, this is not the hill to die on, for this. This
wasn't the case.
Right. You had people, and remember, people that helped subdue him were not white.
Right.
And you had blacks that were witnesses that said, no, we were scared for our lives at that particular point. So, and when you think about it, the prosecution, maybe the jury was offended by that. They kept referring to him as the white suspect, the white guy. They didn't call him by his name. They called him the white guy, the white guy. I mean, the blatant racism of Bragg is just, when you think about it, which, you and I were talking about, that Bragg is the head, DA over the Mangione case now. And you and I saw that prosecutors have only charged him with second-degree murder, not first-degree. And I had said earlier, boy, if there was ever a clear case of capital, first-degree premeditated murder, this is it.
Right.
And you look at, the fact of the circumstances of how it happened, that obviously this was premeditated and planned. Why is it only second-degree murder? Now, we don't know. They could come back and file first-degree murder charges later on.
I don't know. Procedurally, there is if they file a first-degree murder charge, you file the evidence to show the premeditation as well. They have the evidence on, they believe, enough to file a murder charge. But does it rise to that yet? Could they up it down the road? We don't know. Those are possibilities. And when you talk about Alvin Bragg, we're not going to make any predictions. I won't.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea how it's going to go and what's going to go down there. So I don't know. I really don't. But it's tragic that we have this situation, that so many people in our society see this in the murder of Brian Thompson. This isn't new thought. We're just learning about how many more people think this way. And it's a weird, it's bizarre. I can't wrap my brain around it. I really can't.
Well, the shock is not that I see it on social media. The shock is I know two people that have always called themselves conservative. Now, I've never believed they were conservative. They were more populist. And, both voted for Trump, that were trying to justify. And I talked more about it, about the one person yesterday, who brought up well, this health insurance company made $421 billion in profits last year, which, of course, was completely wrong. And I had to correct him on that. And I said, so, the profit margin of that company was 5.9%. Of the top 500 companies in the United States, it's roughly 11.5% is their average profit margin. And then I asked him, I said, what profit margin justifies murder?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't agree with your numbers. So I went and actually sent him the numbers.
Right, the source.
The source where it came from. And then it became, it's just all greed. It's greed. It's all greed. And I said, fine. Then, again, you throw in the generic greed at me that liberals use all the time. And then, again, he doesn't like it because when you call somebody a liberal who's a liberal but calls themselves a populist or a conservative.
Yeah, this is a very liberal mindset, liberal populist mindset.
And we know other people that are in the text group with me understand it. They go, yeah, he voted for Trump, and yeah, he promotes that he's a conservative, but he's really not.
Right.
And it was like, on so many of these, on so many of these particular issues there, but and they could never get an answer out of him. He would not answer. I said, look, I'm responding. I'm asking you questions. I felt like Josh Hawley with the Berkeley professor, about the transgender. Let me ask you a question. You're transphobic. I'm just asking questions here, and that's transphobic.
Right.
You're denying that they exist. Well, am I? I'm just asking, can a man get pregnant? And you're saying that's it. And so it's the same thing there. It's like, well, you started it. You brought up the narrative. I'm simply asking you questions on it, and it became my fault. It's like I'm just trying to. Now, of course, I've known this person for a while, so of course I was trying to set him up in front of all my other buddies that were part of the group text, and I succeeded. But it was just like, I don't know. And then I brought up, the same thing with nationalized health care. Right. How many people have been denied coverage in Canada that have died? They couldn't get, does that justify murder of those officials?
Well, any imperfect system or imperfections in the system.
In the system, right.
Then the solution should be violence?
Yeah.
For those responsible? And the answer is no. Absolutely not. Ever.
So, yeah, I mean, that's...
And how we jump...
And there was somebody else who I know, too, that was doing the same thing, more on social media. I didn't get into an argument with them, but or a debate with them in any way, but I was like, wow.
And how we jump on that justification. I mean, that's such a massive leap.
Yeah, it is.
There's zero logic to it at all.
Yeah.
And it just, again, is a clear indicator that individuals like this don't value life.
Well, as I said, if they have broken a contractual agreement in business, then go after them.
There's a solution.
Yeah.
There's a legal solution.
Right.
And
but if
you
you're
should
saying,
pursue that.
But if you're saying you bought something and it didn't cover it and they won't go beyond the contract and that justifies murder.
It doesn't make any sense at all. It's just, again, it's just morbid.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, all right, when Trump's in office and we've got the new Congress in, where are they going to go? Already there's a debate starting already. And we'll get to this coming up following the bottom of the hour news. Just to give you a little bit of the premise here, you can use reconciliation twice in 1 year under the rules, under the congressional rules, which means all you need is 51 votes. So they can use it twice. And so in the first year. So what the Republicans want is they want tax reform.
Okay.
And then they want the reform on border security. increasing energy production and defense. Well, the Senate right now wants to focus on getting border security, energy production, and defense first in the first reconciliation bill, and then later on in the year, continue with the tax cuts from 2017 and do all the tax reform that they want. The members of the Senate, Republicans in the Senate, believe if they do everything together, it will never get passed. And they want to get one passed. They want to separate it, get the one thing passed, and not have the entire thing all together in one reconciliation bill where they cannot get it done because
it'd be too massive.
It's too massive, and they only have one vote to spare. In the House, and they believe it will be too massive, so they want to get one thing done and then do the other one after. And so we'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. Plus, Democrats, I just love the headline, Democrats fume as cavalier and selfish Biden cedes power to Trump. By the way, he's not.
No.
He's just being normal Biden. Biden hasn't never...
He doesn't care.
It's like, but it's like they expect him now to be out every single day promoting something. He wasn't doing that before.
No.
You know what it is? It's the contrast.
Yeah. They can't stand it.
Trump has been out there. He looks like the leader of the free world. He's out there.
Yeah.
The imagery and the substance of what he is promoting is out there. He looms, compared to Biden, he looms larger than life.
Yeah.
And Biden even out there with Syria the other day. I mean, he was horrible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Democrats don't like the contrast, apparently.
No,
That's
they
more
don't.
on the way.
This holiday season, give the gift of the Red Eye Radio app. Merry Christmas from Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. Okay, one of my favorite stories of the day.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Breitbart had this one.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Last, who is the editor of the far-left Bulwark, has come out in favor of President-elect Donald Trump's mass deportations now that Hispanics are unreliable Democrat voters.
Oh, we're not going to get their vote? Oh, okay. We're for deportation now. Wow.
Yes. It was on Blue Sky. The Bulwark. Democrats, this is what it said, Democrats should deport illegals because they're no longer reliable illegal votes. Democrats should spend exactly zero political capital stopping any Trump deportation efforts. It is madness to spend capital trying to help people who are no longer a major part of your electoral coalition. That came from Jonathan Last. So,
wow. Oh, wow.
He's admitting that what Republicans have said for decades is absolutely correct.
It's true.
And John Nolte makes the case, because he wrote this. Sometimes Nolte is just great. He is saying we need to get rid of Hispanics because they don't vote our way. He goes, that's blatant racism.
Yeah.
Absolutely blatant racism.
Just like all of identity politics is that we pointed out over the years. But
he's not saying get rid of them because they're in the country illegally.
No, not because of their actions.
Right. He's saying they won't vote for us. Get rid of them.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
You know, the thing is, since the election, everything that we've said about Democrats, everything that we have said it's funny because
it's all purging to the surface.
Yeah, but everything that we've said, where people have said, you guys are ridiculous, now Democrats are saying, well, yeah, that's it.
Everything they're admitting it. They're saying it.
Everything from identity politics
yeah.
to this, here. Wow.
Wow.
Nolte says, and there it is. He goes, he was reacting to a story about an illegal alien named Rosa who said she was glad her two sons voted for Trump. And he writes, first off, Jonathan Last is calling for an entire race of people to get punished because they don't vote the way he requires. Well, that's naked racism.
Yeah. Wow.
Last is also saying all Hispanics are supposed to think alike.
Yep.
That's naked racism.
Yep.
Finally, he's admitting he believes illegal immigrants are voting. That's the only group facing deportation that he singles out for no longer being a major part of the electoral coalition.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, he said, hey, we allowed all these illegal immigrants in for the votes, Hispanics. They betrayed us. Ship them all back.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Well, you know, I don't know if we're to be thanked or to be blamed, but years ago, we said it with two words. Democrats, own it. Own it. If you believe something, own it. Say it proudly. Oh, my gosh. 2024 is the year of them owning it. It has to be. Think about it. Their anti-Semitism that's on proud display. I mean, they're proud of their anti-Semitism.
Yep.
The racism of identity politics over and over again. They own it over and over and over and over. So thank us or blame us, I don't know. But we said it years ago. If you believe something, then you should proudly promote it. I don't want them to be quiet. I don't want them to be covert about what they're trying to do, especially if they have a place in government or any influence in government. I don't want that at all. No. You should shout from the mountaintop how you believe, and they did.
We've always talked to young people who are wondering, okay, where do I go? I mean, which side should I consider? I would say before you even get to the issues, look at which side is trying to shut up the opposition.
Right.
What side wishes to censor, and which side wants the other side to speak as loudly about what they truly believe as loud as they can.
And by the way,
and that's conservatives want liberals. We want liberals to speak loudly and to tell the American public exactly how they wish to think. It's liberals that wish to censor the conservative point of view.
All day, every day, and it's been on display for years. If you haven't noticed it, maybe you haven't been paying attention, but it's there for you to see. You don't have to go far to see it. And by the way, the liberals are trying to pre-accuse Trump of the same thing. Oh, he's going to go after people and shut them down. They're trying to accuse him of something that liberal administrations have been doing. He's going to target his political enemies. He's going to go after. He's going to shut this down. He's going to shut that down, which is exactly what they have been doing. The liberals have been doing for a long, long time. We've said, I mean, I don't know how many cases you need, examples you need. The Russian collusion hoax. Who's actually working with the Russians? It was the Democrats.
Yep.
It was Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, the Democratic Party.
Yep. Iggy Danchenko.
Iggy Danchenko, a Russian national.
Right.
And liberal operative here in the United States was key to that whole thing. So when they are accusing the other side of something, it warrants investigation into the accusation and the origins of that entire accusation or set of accusations. And they're doing it with Trump. Again, well, he's going to try and limit people's speech. He's going to blah, 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 blah. Look, these are the people that think Elon Musk should not own X. He is, I don't know, the assistant devil. I don't know where he comes in on the rank thing, but as soon as he's promoting, by the way, when he's promoting free speech, how is he promoting it? If you think about it, the community notes on X is something that you and I have talked about, the idea behind it, something you and I have talked about for years. Look, don't believe everything for its face value. Do your own research. Go out there, even if something we're talking about, and quite often, we've got listeners who will send us stuff and all that. People are capable of doing their own homework, and that's what community notes, actually, the idea behind it is. And that's why Elon Musk said, even on my own account, I'm not taking that off my account. If I'm wrong, you need to tell me. He actually said that on Rogan. He essentially said, tell me where I'm wrong. You can't.
Where did he get that? Wait a minute. He's up.
He's always up, and he's always posting on X during these hours. I'm pretty sure he listens.
Well, but you know something? You know why him and Trump get along? They're up the same hours.
Exactly. They sleep 30 minutes a day. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, but when you think about it, I mean, the argument is so stupid from the Democrats. The whole point is they hate X because in free speech there are people that will tell lies.
Right.
We know it. I mean, we look at this administration. Wow, did you hear about this? That this week and late last week, the mainstream media figured out that this administration lies.
Right.
This is breaking news.
December, roughly a month before he's done. Wait a minute. He's not telling the truth.
He's lying. This is the line coming from him.
My
and that Karine Jean-Pierre. She's like a parrot.
Exactly.
Parroting his lies.
Right.
I mean, it's so in case you didn't hear that breaking news, the mainstream media has discovered this administration lies.
Right.
But the fact is, in free speech, anybody who, if you know anything about how this country was formed and the First Amendment, you know that when there is free speech, that there's going to be people that are going to tell lies. There's going to be propaganda. It exists out there. The Democrats say that's wrong, and you need a judge, that there needs to be some judge that disseminates what is the truth and what is not before it gets to you.
Yeah.
That you as an individual, that you don't have the capability.
Right.
To figure it all out. It's too hard for you.
Right.
So they want to be compassionate, and they want to make sure that they pick a judge who will disseminate all the information and tell you what's the truth and what isn't the truth.
You think about the Twitter files. I mean, it's just astounding to think about it. And this idea that the FBI had basically set up a second headquarters there at Twitter at the time and controlling conversation. And they get away with it because they just throw this word out like misinformation. But that wasn't working. So what did they do in 2024? They started, again, they own it. And you had basically John Kerry and Hillary Clinton, two leading Democrats who have both been Secretary of State, by the way.
As mainstream as you can get.
As mainstream
in the
as you
Democratic
can get.
Party.
Promoting,
Old school.
Exactly. Promoting, saying proudly that the First Amendment gets in the way. It blocks their agenda. Free speech blocks their agenda.
Right.
They use words like misinformation. Who deems it misinformation?
Well, and then they threw in, because misinformation wasn't enough, they threw in hate speech. And it was like, what's hate speech?
Yes.
Well, whatever we
Because
define
when you do
it
that,
as.
then you have the populace going, oh, no, hate speech should be, we should, hate speech is bad. Well, no, the thing is that the government's going to decide what's right and wrong, And, oh, wait a minute, it's about the agenda. John Kerry said it out loud.
Well, but the fact is they don't think it out. It's very simple. Well, then how do you stop it?
Right.
You got to figure it out. As a citizen, you got to figure it out. And you can figure it out. There are enough sources out there. We do it every day. Our audience, you do it every day.
Exactly.
Every single day you do it. You go, okay, this doesn't sound right. All right. What's right? What's wrong? And as we've said, as talk show hosts, we used to debate the issues. Now we more are fact checkers.
Yeah.
Saying, wait a minute, that isn't true. This is true. This isn't true. That isn't true. And we've stated that the last thing we ever want to do is give an opinion based on something that isn't accurate. I mean, that's a waste of time to do so. Mm-hmm. So you can find out. You know it. I don't have to tell our listeners. They know. They know how to find the truth. They find it every day, and they know what it is.
We don't believe you're stupid. Right. You know, it's up to you. If you've got the will to get out there and find it, it's out there. Anybody with a smartphone can find it at any moment.
Because the only other choice is there has to be a buffer between you and the media.
Right.
And who's the buffer? It's got to be somebody in government.
Right.
Remember, that's what the Biden administration tried to create it.
Right.
The Department of Misinformation.
Right, exactly.
From somebody, and the person who was going to head it was known for throwing out lies and misinformation left and right, and they had to abandon that idea because that's the reality of it.
Right.
There is no buffer.
Nope.
You got to figure it out, and that's fine.
Right.
It's been that way since the beginning of the United States.
Yep.
And that's fine. We'll figure it out.
Exactly.
But it takes a couple seconds work. I need some government official to do that for me. Right. And I need the government official to make sure they censor anything that I might view as offensive.
Exactly.
Stop being a child, grow up, be an adult, get a job.
Stand up, get dressed, quit wearing pajamas at the airport.
I don't know what get a job had to do with it, but it just felt like the right thing to say.
Pajamas at the airport, I'm not sure where that came from. Just threw it in.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Wow. It's going to get more. It's more insane every day, is it not?
It really is. And again, sorting through all of it because what we do is we break ideas down, we analyze these ideas, and we play this audio and read quotes from individuals in our society. And I'm always curious as to what the mindset of individuals is that especially people that don't think the way I do, but it's downright frightening how some people think.
Well, the left is trying to make it seem like the truth is too hard to find, so the government needs to buffer it for us.
Right, exactly.
No, it's not.
No, it isn't too hard to find.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We've reiterated today on the show with incredible clarity, murder is wrong.
That's right. We are against murder.
Now, in other topics out there, I love this story. This actually came from Politico. New York Post had the story on it, but they were basically quoting Politico, who had the story. And the headline is, Democrats fume as cavalier and selfish Biden cedes power to Trump. Some Democrats are fuming about President Biden. By the way, I still hate that, even if it's Democrats, some people.
Yeah, exactly.
But this actually is source story from Politico. It's sources. Some Democrats are fuming about President Biden's apparently handing off the reins early to President-elect Donald Trump, who has held several meetings recently with foreign leaders, as the 82-year-old seems content to retreat from the front lines of policymaking and resist questions from the press about his legacy. Quote, he's been so cavalier and selfish about how he approaches the final weeks of the job, a former White House official told Politico. There is no leadership coming from the White House, another Democrat close to senior lawmakers griped to the outlet. There is a total vacuum. In conversations that I'm having, they don't even mention the president. It's kind of sad, the source said. It feels like Trump is president already.
I agree. It does feel like that.
I know. Still, other Democrats are trying to cozy up to Trump before he enters the Oval Office, with some governors spilling last weekend that they'd be happy to partner with the Republican commander-in-chief on some items in his second administration's agenda. The Democratic Governors Association post-election meeting this weekend in Beverly Hills expressed points of agreement with the incoming president. It was reported from Semaphore, with New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy saying he invited Trump to cut the ribbon on a project he approved during the first term. Now you have to remember, this is Hitler we're talking about.
Yeah,
He's going
exactly.
to cut a ribbon with Hitler.
Right.
Who don't want to cut the ribbon
Who
with
doesn't
Hitler?
want to cut the ribbon? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Cedric and Bob. Cedric and Bob.
By the way, there was a Christmas, a lighted Christmas ribbon, a long flat ribbon that you put over your mantle or something decorative that I saw. And I was going to wait. I asked my wife, I said, what do you think? Do you like the ribbon? You don't want the ribbon? And it was just, I couldn't stop saying it all day. Of course, she went shopping. This entire thing is so much more of a reaction by the left than, I don't know what I expected, actually. I can't tell you what I expected. But I'm certainly getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. They're losing their ever-loving mind here because Trump does look presidential and Biden never has.
North Carolina Democratic Governor Josh Stein said that the state would cooperate with Trump if his administration mobilized troops to deport criminal migrants. A few in interviews with the New York Times also refused to throw Biden under the bus for staying too long, amid concerns about his mental fitness that came to a head in his June 27th debate flop against Trump. Among 10 Democratic governors, none was willing to admit that there should be any age limit for presidential nominees, even after the party bosses and top donors ousted Biden over his obvious, cognitive problems. But I just love it. Democrats fume as cavalier and selfish Biden. Have they not been paying attention? He's the exact same now that he was.
There hasn't been a change.
There's not been any change at all.
There's been no change.
They want this vivacious guy coming out saying, I am the leader of the free world until January 20th.
Yeah.
Well, that was never him to begin with. What you saw the other day, I think what got a lot of the fury was the way he mumbled through the whole Syrian thing. And it was like, fine.
Right.
And we had said this like last week or the week before. It's like, it's almost as if everybody, even Democrats, are like, is he gone yet? Is he gone yet? Is this thing over with?
No,
Can we move on to something else?
This is how it all played out. This is really just a continuation of where, what happened earlier this year, and that's, shoving him aside so Kamala could be the nominee. And now they really don't want him to be president. They didn't want him to be president then. Look, there's a huge issue with he's not capable of running, but you still want him to be president. If he's not capable of running, he's not capable of being president. But yet, here we are until January 20th. And the thing is that I think in their mind, that's it. The frustration is, they can't build the facade anymore. The Scarborough thing, F you if you can't handle the truth. there's nothing wrong with Biden approach. They can't do that anymore. That's clear. And Donald Trump is getting, by the way, this is different, so different than 2016 during this time of the year and the transition. Remember, this is about when the Russian collusion thing was really rising to the surface, and all of that, and BuzzFeed and all of that, and the that's where Jim Acosta, in fact, started to try and make his name there at CNN by asking the questions about the dossier and all these things. There were a lot of things going on, but aside from that, you had a lot of international leaders that simply wanted to snub their nose or look away and not accept the fact that Donald Trump was going to become president. And now it is so vastly different. There is so much respect for Donald Trump coming in. You got people flocking to, I don't know if flocking is the right word. I don't know if people still flock these days. Are the kids still flocking? But they're going to Mar-a-Lago, as if it's Camp David.
As I referred to it with a friend of mine the other day as the Vatican.
No, seriously, to get the blessing, right? No, that's perfect. Actually,
that's what I said.
It is.
It
is.
Yeah, I went down to the Southern Vatican.
The Southern Vatican. No, but it is, because you think that Bezos, Trudeau, how many people have made their way down to Joe Scarborough? Had to go down
Scarborough
and kiss the ring. Oh my! Beg for forgiveness, but oh my gosh, it's so enjoyable. But
I could see Trump, Mika, but Trump putting out his hand.
Yeah,
Mika, kiss the ring.
Exactly. And the thing about it is that this is what is required for a strong national defense in terms of international leaders and their respect for a president. Our enemies need to have that healthy respect in terms of what they whether they believe he's unpredictable or whatever. But if they know that he will act against them, but also our allies, that he will look. He's had issues for decades. He's talked about, it's the same thing he's talked about. Other countries need to pay their way. But make no mistake, Trump now has the upper hand here in our allies globally getting together. I think there are two things. I think all the things that were learned since he was first president, but especially one event, the botched exit of Afghanistan, which left left Americans in danger. American service members died during that event, but our allies also. It left them in a position where they couldn't trust the United States at all for the first time. And now you have a situation where they believe they can. And it's very apparent, and it's got to be driving the left crazy, because there is a very stark difference, a very clear difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Well, what I love here is that, the media is concerned because Biden is resisting questions from the press about his legacy. He's resisted from questions from the press since the very beginning.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, and this is really the amazing thing to watch the White House press corps and everything else. I mean, come to the realization,
right?
My God, this guy's and Karine Jean-Pierre, they're lying.
Right.
They're lying. We figured this out. We're pretty smart people. After 3 years and 11 months, we figured out they're pathological liars.
Well, it's, the thing, and that's the other thing, too. They act with surprise. It was Jeffrey Toobin on CNN who said, what we don't know is what to do about the whole Hunter thing. This goes back a few years. Yeah. And you and I were like, keep your pants on, Jeffrey. You do know what to do. Report on it. hopefully you know what not to do.
I'm sorry, that story's still today.
You can't escape it. It's horrible.
I mean, it's like
But it's...
Could you please keep your mind focused on work, please, Jeffrey?
Hey, Jeffrey, this is an actual official call.
Right, Jeffrey, this is a work call.
Yeah.
Keep your pants on, please.
Can you not do that? Can you block out 30 minutes for the call?
I want to let you know that during this show, we're focused on the show.
Yes, we are. We are. We absolutely are, with no doubt. But they were, Toobin was, clearly not focused.
For people that don't know, if you don't know, Jeffrey Toobin was on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And got caught masturbating.
Yeah.
On a Zoom call.
It's so weird.
And got caught. I'm like, got caught. It's like...
And he's still employed, right? I mean, still today? I mean, I know he was off the air for a while.
Yeah,
but...
he's back, yeah.
Seriously, what the hell? I mean, anybody... You're not going to be... I'm not retiring. It's not happening because I'll tell you right now, with both the Thanksgiving break and when I lost my voice last Thursday night, it's mad. When you lose your voice, and I had the energy. I had, I felt okay, at least. That's especially frustrating. Because this is how I get it all out. This is how I vent. Some people... do Pilates. I do this. Some people do what Jeffrey Toobin does. I do this. If I don't have this outlet, and I mean, at some point, I guess I'm going to have to retire, but I'm going to be talking to the cows or something.
Well, I got you by 10 years, so yeah. I'll be going probably first.
No. See, here's the deal. Because you already look at least as young as I do, maybe younger in times, and you're pretty active. You got to keep that up because we got to stay on the same schedule. It's not. Okay. We're not doing this. Not doing this thing.
Okay, I'm not doing it without you.
We'll do. Everybody compared. Well, some listeners jokingly and lovingly compared us to the two old men in the balcony on the Muppet Show. We'll actually be that.
Well,
is that a frog on stage?
What we promise is to focus on the show and to be master of our domains. So just so everybody knows,
100%.
When we were talking about Cedric and Bob before, because we were talking about who don't wear the ribbon.
Yeah.
I'll never forget if somebody wrote about it one time about that Seinfeld was exploiting the stereotype of gay rage. And I went, there's
I didn't even know there was a stereotype.
Same with me. I went, there's a stereotype of gay rage?
Of that?
It's like,
if it's a stereotype, how come I didn't know about it?
Yes, I guess my privilege kept me from knowing that.
Guess. I don't know that there is such a privilege, right?
Really? There's a...
what?
Really? There's a stereotype of gay rage?
Exactly.
I didn't.
What?
Who don't wear the ribbon?
I've never heard that in my life.
Yeah. I'll never forget that narrative going back and forth.
That's crazy.
And that was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
They've been off the air. Wow. Seinfeld's last episode over 26 years ago.
That's crazy. They've been off the air almost nearly 3 times longer than they were actually on the air. They were on 9 seasons?
Yeah. Well, what saved them? Putting it in the 16:9 high-definition format.
Yeah.
That saved a lot of those shows from that point.
Yeah,
they did that because it fills the whole screen.
Right, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, 866.
Wow.
What are we talking about? Insanity is what we talked about in this entire last segment.
Yeah, it really is.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out, which involves the officer writing or typing up the report. The more the officer found during the inspection, the longer this will take. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. After receiving the inspection report, the driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so when I saw this story, and it's really come to the forefront, and really was, I think part of it, I know when Trump went to France for the reopening of Notre Dame, and I even said it. I said, Trump went there, and Biden's gone to South Bend. You know,
right.
I got a few comments. That was really funny, whatever.
Exactly.
But I think there was a lot of anger because he met with the president of France, and the pictures of him, he looks very stately. He's over there with other world leaders, and it just looked powerful. And even Trump there's a different, and funny because we said it the other day, like 2 days ago, and then Molly Hemingway said it yesterday. She goes, there's something different about Trump. There's something different about this interview that he's doing with Kristen Welker. There's
you notice how he was sitting in part of the interview? He was leaning toward her.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was doing that, because he's more comfortable in that, but it's also a show. It is a show of power. He's leaning into it and literally leaning into the questions, and he did not have the demeanor that he has had in a couple of interviews years ago where he would just, engage with them.
Right.
Right. He addressed her head on. And I didn't really have any issues at all with it. But
when he lectured her, I actually enjoyed the lecture.
Yeah.
You could be really good.
Oh, my gosh. You mind backing up? Your breath is really horrible, Larry. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God.
It was kind of that moment.
Yeah.
You could be really good if you just go to school and learn. But no, the thing is I just love that about her. Your breath is really horrible. Anybody ever tell you that, Larry?
That was the best ever.
Larry King. It is again, with the results on November 5th, that's also empowering for him. Literally and figuratively, that gives him leverage, and I think gives him even more confidence. Not that he lacked confidence, but you can tell he's on the world stage now. He's right there at the top.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I want to play this audio cut from yesterday, Peter Hegseth on Fox News, and here's what he had to say, and this is what he should be talking about.
Right.
Here we go.
Well, there's a lot to be done. First of all, you salute the commander-in-chief who got those 76 million votes and is going to chart the way. And I'll give him advice and counsel along the way. I'll just say what he told me. Return the Pentagon to the warfighters, Pete. Get in there and clean out all the social justice, politically correct garbage on top and get back to lethality, warfighting, accountability, meritocracy, and readiness. And guess what? 95% of the people in that building in the Pentagon and that wear the uniform, that's all they want to do anyway. And so when you return to that, it changes the culture of an institution that now stands up straight You address that recruiting crisis. You address the retention crisis. Sean, I can't tell you how many families have reached out to me and said, my son or daughter wasn't going to join, and now they are after President Trump was elected and you were chosen to be SecDef. Same with retention. And then the rest of the world takes notice of that, Sean. So I'm not going to get ahead of the president on policy or what our posture will be. But we will be strong, and we will have peace through strength.
And now, as we know, one thing that wasn't talked about there was nothing to do with sex. Right. You and I were talking about during the break about it, and I really do think, and we had played the audio on the air. In fact, that's when we played the audio of Megyn Kelly, that's when somebody said, that's when we got called
rhinos.
Rhino. I was going to say we didn't get called Nazi scum.
Yeah.
We got called
Rhino scum. Yeah.
Rhino scum, and we said, no, we're conservative scum. And it's where he told Megyn Kelly, because she said, well, son, you've had 3 wives, you've cheated on all 3 of them. Yes, you're a serial cheater. And he said, I was, but I'm no longer. I'm a Christian, and that's not a part of me any longer. And at that point, because you and I had talked about what does he have to do, what has to happen in that situation, because at one point he was in a worse place than Matt Gaetz was. But
because of how it played out and how things were coming out.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it looks like now, and Joni Ernst saying, well, I support him through this entire process. I have a feeling now, if nothing else comes out, because the source stories now are dead. The source stories just sit there. They're source stories.
Right.
They came out. He denies it. Unless somebody comes forward, I don't think his nomination is going to be stopped from this point on. And everything's been quiet. And him coming out, what was it, about 10 days ago? I forgot when it was 10 days ago, maybe, week to 10 days ago, where he was with Megyn Kelly. You do the mea culpa. You say, I was wrong. I did it. Boom. The rest of the things.
Yeah, I wasn't just hanging out on her podcast that day and oh, by the way, this came up. That was intentional, and he wanted that out there. He wanted that transparency. Also to disarm anything especially concern from anyone, Joni Ernst and anyone in the GOP and the Senate for the confirmation process that, look, from now on, I'm going to be completely transparent. As you said, we were talking about this during the break, and it would be the approach. And what you've noticed is, and I said it, I think a week and a half ago, Donald Trump isn't going to the Senate with him. He's not going to Capitol Hill with him. And the word is that Donald Trump isn't making calls for him to the Senate. He did for Matt Gaetz for a short time. He hasn't up until now yet for Hegseth. Now, he mentioned it in the interview on Sunday. I think he'll be confirmed. I think, all that. But the thing is that if it's true that Susie Wiles, the story that came out, that Susie Wiles, the incoming chief of staff, had an issue with Hegseth because of the way it was falling out, is there anything else you need to tell us that there wasn't proper third-party vetting and all these allegations about what the transition team knew and didn't know, and these surprises that were coming out? That's what has really been, up until now, a couple of weeks ago especially, was really damaging against Hegseth. If it's true that Susie Wiles was on the phone saying, is there anything else we need to know? I could see Donald Trump, I would believe it all day long, that Donald Trump says to him, well, listen, it's on you to go to these senators and convince them. Now, if you want to work on that head count, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to make the case for yourself. Part of doing that is in the court of public opinion, because you're trying to get in front of as many constituents of these senators as you can. But also, you want to build the confidence. If you're going to be the defense secretary, you want to build the confidence of the American people who most of whom voted for Donald Trump this time around, and they want that confidence throughout his administration. And so I think it's a good approach. We'll see if it works. You and I talked about this. I don't have an issue I didn't have an issue with, in terms of the job that Matt Gaetz could do as Attorney General. Those weren't the issues. I don't have an issue in terms of the job that Hegseth could do as defense secretary. Again, it's the process of playing out and whether or not this becomes, basically a trial for a public trial of them. The confirmation process is part trial. You want to vet the person properly, but the thing is that it's not on Donald Trump, and I think Donald Trump feels this, especially with Hegseth. It's not on me to clear your name. It's on you to clear your name, and that's what you see going on with Hegseth.
I think that if you had, for example, a couple of women come out, like let's say this week, and say, we're the sources behind that story that was in, what was it, one? I forgot which papers carried. There were two different stories out there. If somebody came forward, it would bring the story back, and I think Trump at that point would say, okay, we need to move on, because then that's going to go on for another couple of weeks. The what you wanted to do was, by the time you got past Thanksgiving, as we're past Thanksgiving, you wanted what you just saw from Hegseth right there. He's talking about what the plan is for being Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
And he's talking about what he's going to do. That's what you want between now and January 20th. You want what's happening with Homan. We know there are people that, no matter what, are behind Hegseth, just like they were behind Gaitz until Gaitz was gone, and then you don't hear anything more about Gaitz. You move on to the to the next person, and there really hasn't been no complaints about Pam Bondi at all that I've really seen.
Right.
Any serious complaints about her nomination. But the fact is that I played that audio cut because that's where you want it. That's what Trump wants. He wants you promoting his agenda that you believe in all the way up to the whole, nomination process, and you testifying, before the sitting down, with the Senate. And so, if nothing else comes out, I think he's in.
Yeah,
I think they will find the votes. If nothing else comes forward at this point, because it seems like the narrative now is these are all source stories.
Right.
And I thought that if the stories were legit, that because it's normally what happens, a source story comes out, like that Democrats have a source story, and then it doesn't work, and then somebody comes and testifies, and that's what helps, defeat a nomination. You saw with Kavanaugh, for example,
right,
when it first came out, but you had an actual person, or I think if a person comes out and says something against Hegseth, I think at that point Trump would say, just can't have it any longer. We can't have we can't have up till January 20th. Even if you're completely innocent, we cannot try this here.
Well, and I think, too, you watch for the media, especially the liberal activist media, to vet these accusations, basically to try and find witnesses or anything they can to work against the incoming administration and any nominee, but any nomination during that process. So the longer we go without hearing that, them going out and, like you said, the ultimate would be witnesses and coming forward and, people coming forward. If that doesn't, the longer we go, then the greater the chance he has on confirmation. It seems, maybe it's just the media focus because there's been the back and forth in the conversations he's had with Joni Ernst. It seems they make it seem like she's the only holdout. It's kind of hard to believe that would be.
I saw Lindsey Graham still not there yet.
Okay.
What I saw yesterday.
Right. Okay, so we said it's probably a few. If it were more than a few, then you don't have a chance, no path to confirmation. It would have been over, just like it was with Matt Gaitz.
Well, the other thing I see, you don't see, and maybe just because it's one nominee, I wouldn't stop them in the path. I don't see the effort from the liberal media to continue to pound the same story against Hegseth. They're on to different things. They're on to
that's my point.
They're on to some of the different stories.
If they latched on to something and there was something real, we'd hear more about it. They would stay on it. They're finding new things and, or maybe a witness or whatever.
Right. So
and we don't see it.
And I do see the the surrogates for him supporting him, and if you don't want him, then we're going to primary you and all that.
Okay.
We hear that all. I know we've been covering this so long. It's for us. It's like blah blah blah, yada yada yada. The whole the whole thing. But it's only these source stories. No, it isn't. He admitted cheating on all of his wives.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the military, you get in trouble for that.
Mm-hmm.
That comes down to character.
Mm-hmm.
That is important for a Secretary of Defense.
Problems with alcohol. That's
with alcohol.
Huge
That's
concern.
Another problem. So don't say it's just the source stories. Just source stories or something. No, there were other problems that were involved in it, including the whole situation of the woman at the Republican thing there. Even if there were no charges filed,
right?
It goes back to the character and what the military expects. Now, he's not in the military. He'd be the civilian leader of the military. But the fact is, you want somebody to lead by example in that particular point, or that they have, look, I'm a changed person. This is what I believe. These things happen in my life, and it's not going to happen again. But I remember. I mean, a lot of people probably aren't as old as I am, and so they don't remember how John Tower went down to defeat with less than they had than with Hegseth.
Mm-hmm. Right,
and that was on drinking and womanizing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think he's in, and I think if he gets in, he'll do a good job. And what is the definition of good with this new Trump administration? Just getting anything done, because the pushback is going to be brutal on all of this. You're already seeing it on immigration.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have an audio cut coming up here following the top of the hour on that one, because now polling's out. Did you see almost 70% of Americans want criminal illegal immigrants out of the country?
Wow.
70%. And the vast majority have no problem with the military involvement in it.
Wow.
And now you've got, now the new narrative is he's going to deport American citizens. You had the one woman naturalized. You're a naturalized citizen. You can't be deported.
Exactly.
What are you talking? And so the fear mongering, but the fear mongering has been there for the last couple of weeks, especially on immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers keep going up and up and up and up.
Yep.
And you know why? Because people now look at it. It isn't even a hypothetical anymore. It's like, oh, they're going to do it.
Right.
And plus, Holman is out there every day. Holman's out there every day, and he's a great surrogate. I think Hegseth, with what he just said right there, I need to get in. The president wants me to get in there and clean out the social justice, the politically correct garbage, get back to lethality, war fighting, accountability, meritocracy, and readiness. And you know something? That's what the people in the military want. People in the military want that.
And the benefit, he mentioned it, the benefit in recruiting on that, because recruiting has been horrible. And it's because of the woke policy of this administration. If that's gone, then people will feel like they can serve and they're not serving in something they don't believe in.
So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
We will see.
But so far right now, it's good for him. I think
it looks good. Looks better.
And if this continues for the next month, I think he will be confirmed. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Coming up following the top of the hour, the latest polling on immigration and on deporting illegal immigrant criminals that is out today, this tip poll that's really fascinating. That and more coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.